Rumors have recently begun to swirl, hinting that Disney might be reconsidering its highly anticipated Snow White live-action remake. Whispers among insiders suggest that the studio could be on the verge of making a drastic decision, either pulling the plug on the project entirely or heading in a bold new direction by recasting the role of Snow White, potentially replacing Rachel Zegler. But how did events spiral from what was initially a promising, exciting project to what is now a full-blown disaster for Disney? To fully grasp this unexpected turn of events, we must delve into the origins of Snow White, explore Rachel Zegler's controversial statements, and understand how the situation escalated into a public relations nightmare that the studio is now scrambling to manage. The story of Snow White begins not with this remake, but 85 years ago, in 1937, with the release of the original animated classic Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Far from being just another cartoon, the film was a revolutionary achievement, marking the first full-length animated feature ever produced. Walt Disney took a colossal risk with this project, investing unprecedented resources into what many critics at the time considered a whimsical folly. But the gamble paid off spectacularly, catapulting both Disney and the medium of animation into the cinematic spotlight. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was a triumph, not only artistically but commercially as well, setting the standard for animated storytelling for decades to come. Its stunning visuals, emotional depth, and unforgettable characters resonated with audiences across the world, turning Snow White into a beloved piece of popular culture. The film's success was so monumental that it was honored with a special Academy Award-won full-size Oscar and 7 miniature statuettes representing the Seven Dwarfs. This unique gesture was a testament to the film's groundbreaking spirit and its monumental impact on the film industry. For generations, Snow White has been regarded as the quintessential fairy tale, a foundational piece of Disney's legacy that continues to inspire both nostalgia and admiration. As the years passed, the original film remained a cherished part of the Disney canon, untouched by time and hailed as a masterpiece of animation and storytelling. Fast forward to the present day, when Disney decided it was time to revisit this beloved classic, hoping to introduce Snow White to a new generation of audiences through a live-action adaptation. The announcement of this project was initially met with a mix of excitement, curiosity, and some hesitation. After all, how does one update a film so deeply ingrained in the hearts of its fans without losing the magic that made it so special? Yet, Disney's track record of live-action remakes had proven lucrative in recent years, and the decision to move forward was seen as a calculated but promising risk. One of the boldest moves in this adaptation was Disney's choice to cast Rachel Zegler, a rising star who had recently gained widespread acclaim for her role in West Side Story, as the new Snow White. Zegler's casting was viewed as a reflection of Disney's commitment to inclusivity and modernization, a push to breathe new life into its classic characters by offering a fresh, diverse take on them. With her undeniable talent and screen presence, Zegler seemed like the perfect candidate to helm the iconic role, poised to bring a modern and engaging interpretation of the character to life. However, what began as an exciting opportunity for both Zegler and Disney quickly devolved into controversy. As Zegler embarked on a press tour to promote the film, her remarks in various interviews became the focal point of a growing media firestorm. The actress offered critiques of the original 1937 film, which took many longtime fans by surprise. Specifically, Zegler addressed the portrayal of the romantic relationship between Snow White and the prince, describing it as problematic. She even went so far as to suggest that the prince's behavior in the original film. For Zegler, the mounting negativity surrounding her remarks began to overshadow the excitement that was supposed to accompany her role in the film. What should have been a major career milestone starring as one of Disney's most iconic princesses turned into a public relations crisis. The discourse surrounding her portrayal of Snow White became less about her performance and more about whether the film's reinterpretation was a step too far, bordered on stalking. These comments raised eyebrows among both Disney loyalists and casual fans, as they came across as a direct critique of a beloved piece of cinematic history. But Zegler's statements didn't stop with her initial comments. She elaborated further in interviews, explaining that the live-action remake of Snow White would move away from the traditional romantic subplot that was central to the original 1937 film. According to Zegler, the new adaptation was meant to reflect modern sensibilities, centering on independence and empowerment rather than a romantic relationship. She described the reimagined Snow White as embodying a girl boss storyline, one that would prioritize themes of female agency, autonomy, and personal growth. While Zegler's comments were likely intended to signal a progressive and contemporary take on the classic character, her remarks quickly ignited controversy. Many longtime fans of the original film were dismayed by Zegler's statements, seeing them as a dismissal of the magic, charm, and timeless appeal of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. For these fans, the 1937 film was not merely an outdated fairy tale but a groundbreaking achievement in animation and storytelling, a cultural touchstone that had inspired generations. The original Snow White was the first ever feature-length animated film, a monumental accomplishment that solidified Walt Disney Studios' place in cinema history. To these fans, the romantic subplot between Snow White and the prince was a key part of what made the story so enduring and beloved. By critiquing that aspect of the narrative in blunt terms, Zegler inadvertently alienated a large portion of the fanbase. The backlash was swift and fierce. Social media platforms became battlegrounds, with fans, film critics, and cultural commentators engaging in heated debates over Zegler's comments and the direction of the new film. On one side, there were those who applauded the decision to modernize the character, seeing it as a necessary evolution to fit contemporary values, particularly around women's empowerment and independence. On the other side, many expressed disappointment and frustration, feeling that Disney was abandoning the essence of the original story in favor of a trendy, woke reinterpretation. Critics pointed out that while updating classic stories can be beneficial, dismissing the original themes entirely risked alienating the very audience Disney was relying on to support the remake. To make matters worse, this controversy couldn't have come at a more inopportune time for Disney. The studio was in the early stages of marketing what it had hoped would be another blockbuster live-action adaptation, following the success of other remakes like The Lion King and Aladdin. However, with Zegler's comments causing such a strong backlash, Disney's promotional campaign was derailed before it even truly began. The film, which had already been facing criticism for its decision to significantly alter key elements of the story, was now engulfed in even more negative publicity. Adding to the drama were rumors circulating within the industry that Disney was reconsidering its entire approach to the project. Some insiders suggested that the studio was contemplating drastic measures, including pulling the plug on the film altogether. With production costs mounting and fan discontent growing louder, there was speculation that Disney might choose to cut its losses rather than proceed with a project that seemed increasingly fraught with controversy. Others believed that the studio might take a more tactical approach, potentially recasting the role of Snow White with another actress in a bid to distance the film from the public backlash against Zegler. The uncertainty surrounding the film's future became a topic of intense speculation, both within Hollywood and among fans. Would Disney proceed with the film as planned, despite the negative buzz, or would the studio make significant changes in an attempt to salvage the project? As discussions about Fast forward to today, Disney decided to revisit this classic, aiming to introduce it to a new generation. When the live-action remake was announced, it generated a mix of excitement and curiosity. The casting of Rachel Zegler, a rising star celebrated for her performance in West Side Story, seemed like a bold choice. It signaled Disney's intent to modernize and diversify its beloved properties. Potential reshoots and script rewrites emerged. It became clear that Disney was in damage control mode. The company's reputation for handling its live-action remakes with care and respect for the source material was now being called into question. For Zegler, the situation was particularly precarious. Once seen as a rising star with roles in West Side Story and Shazam, Fury of the Gods, she now found herself at the center of a growing controversy that threatened to overshadow her budding career. The pressure was immense. Not only did she have to contend with the backlash from fans, but she also had to navigate the precarious relationship with Disney itself. The revelations that her contract with the studio allowed for a degree of flexibility, giving Disney the option to part ways if the situation worsened, only added to the uncertainty surrounding her future. As the situation continued to unfold, fans, critics, and industry insiders alike were left wondering what Disney's next move would be. Would the studio double down on its decision to modernize Snow White despite the backlash? Or would it attempt to appease the traditionalist fanbase by walking back some of the more controversial elements? Either way, it was clear that Disney faced an uphill battle in regaining control of the narrative. The controversy surrounding Snow White also sparked broader questions about the direction Disney was heading with its live-action remakes. Were these modern reimaginings truly enhancing the legacy of the original films, or were they undermining what made them beloved in the first place? Was the studio sacrificing timeless stories in favor of fleeting modern trends? And perhaps most importantly, was Disney losing touch with its core audience in its attempt to cater to a more progressive sensibility? With the release of Snow White now potentially delayed, and rumors of extensive reshoots swirling, the fate of the film remains uncertain. Whether Disney can successfully navigate this public relations disaster and deliver a film that resonates with both new audiences and longtime fans remains to be seen. However, one thing is certain: the controversy surrounding Snow White has become a pivotal moment not just for the film itself, but for Disney's future in live-action filmmaking. Whether Disney will follow through on the drastic measures being rumored remains uncertain, but the fact that such speculation is circulating underscores the severity of the crisis the studio is grappling with. What was once a highly anticipated project has devolved into a significant public relations challenge, placing Disney in the unenviable position of managing a film that, despite not yet being released, is already enveloped in controversy. The stakes are incredibly high, not only for the success of the Snow White remake, but also for Disney's broader strategy of live-action adaptations, which have become a crucial revenue driver for the company in recent years. As Disney ponders its next steps, it must confront larger questions raised by this controversy. How can a studio stay true to its storied legacy while adapting to modern sensibilities? Can Disney continue to produce live-action versions of its animated classics without alienating the very fans who helped make those films iconic? Most critically, is the studio prepared to take decisive actions to course-correct before the damage to Snow White becomes irreparable? The answers to these questions will likely unfold over the coming months, as Disney decides how to navigate this increasingly complex situation. Whether the studio decides to continue with Rachel Zegler in the lead role or opts for a significant change in direction, one thing is clear: the path to success for Snow White has become far more convoluted than anyone initially anticipated. Fans are closely monitoring every move Disney makes, and the company's attempts to untangle the mess are likely to be scrutinized intensely. Rumors have recently swirled that Disney might be rethinking its approach to the Snow White live-action remake. Whispers suggest that the studio is contemplating either canceling the project altogether or pursuing a dramatic new direction, which could include replacing Rachel Zegler, the lead actress cast as Snow White. This sudden turn of events begs the question: how did the excitement surrounding this project morph into what is now a full-blown public relations fiasco for Disney? To understand this, it's essential to delve into the origins of the Snow White franchise and explore how the situation spiraled out of control. The story begins 85 years ago in 1937 with the release of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Disney's pioneering first full-length animated feature. This was more than just a cartoon, it was a groundbreaking cinematic achievement. Walt Disney took a massive risk with this project, and the gamble paid off spectacularly. The film's success catapulted Disney to the forefront of the animation industry and cemented its place in cinematic history. Snow White was not only an artistic and commercial triumph, but also received a special Academy Award and Oscar statue accompanied by 7 miniature versions to represent the dwarfs. This landmark achievement set the standard for animation and storytelling, becoming a beloved cultural treasure that had resonated across generations. Zegler, with her talent and fresh perspective, was expected to bring a contemporary spin to the iconic character of Snow White. However, the excitement surrounding the project quickly turned into controversy. During promotional interviews, Zegler made remarks that ignited a media firestorm. She criticized the original 1937 film, calling certain elements of the story outdated and problematic. Specifically, Zegler took issue with the portrayal of the prince's romantic pursuit of Snow White, describing it as stalking. She emphasized that the new film would abandon the romantic subplot in favor of a more modern, independent girl boss narrative. While these comments aimed to reflect a progressive reimagining of the story, they struck a nerve with fans of the original film. Many perceived Zegler's remarks as dismissive of the original film's significance and charm. For fans, Snow White was not just a fairy tale but a cultural milestone that had shaped Disney's identity and legacy. Social media quickly became a battleground, with critics accusing Zegler of disrespecting a classic that had laid the foundation for Disney's animation empire. The backlash was swift and intense, with fans voicing their frustration over the perceived disregard for a story that had become iconic over decades. The situation worsened when Disney released the teaser trailer for the live-action Snow White. The trailer's reception was overwhelmingly negative, with an astonishing 850,000 dislikes compared to just 70,000 likes. This was a rare and troubling ratio for Disney, a company usually adept at generating positive buzz. The public's rejection of the trailer signaled that the film's new direction might have strayed too far from the beloved original, further inflaming the controversy. Compounding the issue was Disney's decision to use CGI to recreate the Seven Dwarfs rather than casting actors with dwarfism. This decision sparked a heated debate about representation in Hollywood. The original film's dwarf characters, such as Grumpy, Dopey, and Doc, were cherished for their distinct personalities and charm. By opting for CGI, Disney seemed to erase a significant aspect of what made the original characters so endearing. Actors and advocates for the dwarfism community expressed disappointment, criticizing Disney for missing an opportunity to cast real actors in these iconic roles. As Disney navigates this tumultuous period, the future of Snow White remains uncertain. The studio faces a complex challenge of balancing modern updates with the preservation of cherished elements from the original film. Whether Disney will adjust its approach, make significant changes, or press forward with its current plans, the coming months will be crucial in determining the film's ultimate fate. With fans and industry watchers keenly observing, Disney's decisions will be under close scrutiny as the studio seeks to salvage a project now enmeshed in controversy. As fan outrage grew, the situation took an even more dramatic turn. Reports surfaced that Rachel Zegler had been fired not only from Snow White, but also from other upcoming projects including Paddington 3, better off staying closer to the original vision of Snow White. Adding to the fans' frustration is the news that the film's release has been delayed until mid-2025, leaving many to wonder whether the final product will even be worth the wait. Disney cited the ongoing Hollywood strikes as the reason for the delay, but insiders speculate that the real issue lies in the extensive reshoots and the pressure to address the film's shortcomings. As Disney grapples with these challenges, fans and critics alike are eager to see how the studio will navigate this public relations nightmare. The fallout from Snow White could have long-lasting implications not only for the film itself but for Disney's approach to future projects. Will the studio learn from this experience and find a way to recapture the magic that once defined its storytelling? Or is this a sign of deeper issues within the company's creative direction? What do you think? Is Rachel Zegler being unfairly targeted, or did Disney make the right call by distancing itself from the actress? Do you think the extensive reshoots are worth the millions being spent, or should Disney have stayed true to the original spirit of Snow White? And how do you feel about having to wait until 2025 to see the final film? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to stay updated on this ongoing saga and other stories from the world of entertainment. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next update.